The Battle of the Star Puffs. Who knew that Afro puffs would be so controversial? Let's get into why this affects the black community and why we should be paying attention. But first, before we get into this discussion, you're probably asking, what is a star puff? And in order for me to answer that question, I have to give you a little bit of game on what an afro sculpture is, or afro sculpting. Afro sculpting is the medium of using afro-textured hair to create artwork, as you can see on this screen. Afro sculpting predates me, you, anyone listening to this video, anyone who will ever come across this video, and anyone who is screenshot on this screen. It is a decades, and some would say centuries old medium, and it predates us all. But let's get into why this is such a controversy. First of all, let's get into the backstory here, and we'll come back. Black hair is communal. No one owns blackness. For generations, black hair has been our history book, our protest, and our shared canvas. Styles like box braids, cornrows, and the classic afro puff, which is the foundation of the star puff, are not owned by a single person or company. The afro is communal art. The problem that we are getting into is there has become tension between these two creators, attempts to gatekeep the art forms within afro sculpting, and a glaring irony. You see, these two creators are actually in a symbiotic relationship with one another. So let's get into a couple of facts. And I did use Geminis to produce this image, so most of the information is going to be Google and YouTube based. That is the primary way I consume their content. So Queen Ava is a natural hair sculptress and licensed stylist who positions herself as a pioneer of modern natural hair sculpting. She claims to have originated the signature geometric shape, such as the star-shaped afro, around 2021. Her company is Kwiin Culture LLC, and they are the formal business entity that is the plaintiff filing a federal lawsuit and issuing DMCA takedown notices. They're also pursuing trademark and copyright claims. The defendant is Solar from Solar Being, or she's a Solar Being, and she is a content creator and a natural hair artist who built a significant platform by sharing her own geometric hairstyles and sculptures. She argues that these styles are cultural expression and cannot be owned by one person, but they are owned by the community itself. So a couple of things within this timeline. Kwiin Ava's origin starts around 2021. Kwiin Ava begins gaining recognition through hair shows as well as online for her different sculptures, which are great. The initial friction, however, starts in 2024 when She's a Solar Being publicly mentions experiencing covert attempts by an unnamed person to push her out of the natural hair sculpting niche. This is an allegation, so I must say this is alleged. This is now understood to be the beginning of the conflict allegedly between Queen Ava. So the argument is that Queen Ava predates Miss Solar, and this might be true. Very well might be true. So in April 2024, She's a Solar Being produces the She's a Solar Being Sculpted Hair Extensions collection via Kickstarter. And not soon after that was there the first DMCA takedown issued by Queen Culture LLC, which submitted a formal Digital Millennium Copyright Act notice to Kickstarter, claiming copyright infringement regarding Solar's hair puffs and jewelry. This action attempts to deplatform Solar's project. So in October of this year, there was a second DMCA takedown notice submitted to Kickstarter against Solar's campaign, this time by a law firm, AEI Law PC, on behalf of a private client, presumably and allegedly Queen Culture. In late 2025, there was a cease and desist issued, as well as copyright strikes on YouTube, allegedly on YouTube, and I could be wrong. And then in early December, there was a federal lawsuit filed by Queen Ava and Queen Culture LLC to file a lawsuit against Solar and one of her associates. The lawsuit formalizes the claims of the trademark and copyright infringement. On December the 9th, public confirmation was disseminated by Solar. She confirmed the legal battle, detailing the timeline of the DMCA notices and the cease and desist letter and the federal lawsuit. Media outlets like BET began reporting on the story. If you want to know a little bit more about the timelines, please feel free to look in the description below where a full timeline will be listed. But let's get into the challenges of this illegal aggression. First of all, there has been a lot of tension between the two online. It has been very visible. Lots of back and forth videos we've seen. And there is an attempt by trademarking, there's an attempt to gatekeep these specific hair sculptures. And then there's a glaring, as we stated earlier, a glaring irony. So the legal aggression, I am asking that it stop. Any attempt to file a copyright or trademark against the star puff is clearly the source of the conflict. And by trying to monopolize a core black aesthetic expression, it's an attempt to gatekeep. The irony, though, this is the ironic part, and I know y'all ain't gonna like this, but the irony is I would not have known who Quinn or Queen Ava was if it were not for the clearly, and this is my opinion, superior marketing value and ability of Miss Solar, and she's a solar being. I would not have known who Queen Ava was. So that's why I say this is actually cross-pollination, and any attempt for legal aggression is not the form that this particular art form needs to take. Solar's content actually amplified Queen Ava's name. Solar will constantly give credit to Queen Ava in her different expressions and artwork. Furthermore, this entire dispute clashes with the principle of free expression. Queen Ava's actions are trying to insert a corporate restrictive license into a space of personal and cultural expression, which is not acceptable within the black space. So this is where I insert my African Anonymous opinion, and I believe that it's backed up through study. As African Americans, as black people, we have fought hard to be able to express ourselves freely. And these different systems that were created specifically to diminish the ability to express ourselves as black individuals. It wasn't until very recently that the Crown Act was signed, which allowed black people the freedom, or anyone, the freedom to be able to wear their naturally textured hair at work without fear of being fired. So the third part of this, not only is it the glaring irony, but the technicality. Part 3, the ultimate conclusion, is separate aesthetics. But honestly, if Miss Queen Ava wanted to sue her based on the copyright claims, I'll let her have that. I will let her have that. Her claim is that she's a solar being, is using the same exact star shape that she created. Okay, if that is the case, fine. The only course of action is not for her to stop making her product, Miss Queen Ava, but to ask her to adjust the style of the star. Maybe she can make the points a little bit more pointy, or the curves a little bit more smooth to differentiate herself from your artwork. One could make that claim, but telling her that she cannot produce this artwork in itself is absolutely wrong. Period. I've seen the work you've done, Miss Queen Ava. You have worked very hard from a young age to produce the work that you have produced, to create the artwork that you have created. But what you cannot do is try to own blackness. And I am very disappointed that a black woman would stand and use her money to silence another black creator. I am so appalled in that. See, I'm not 23 years old. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. But in the 90s and in the 2000s, there was a need for solidarity. This is not what we need. But let me stick to the script. So yes, that legal technicality, she could pursue that. But for her, it's not about the technicality of the shape of the star. She has stated herself that she is wanting to basically, and these are my paraphrase of her words, she wants to monopolize the entire medium of afro sculpted hair artistry. She wants to be the gatekeeper of it, so that the extensions that She's a Solar Being creates cannot be sold to non-black audiences, and so that anyone that is not black cannot profit off of those things. Very venerable, right, ideas, but not legal, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, that you cannot legally keep someone from selling a product. How do we know this? We can see it in other expressions of hair. In the 90s, let me go to my timeline here. In the 90s, we had, the brandy-styled box braids. Super popular. In the 2000s, we had the kinky twist, the jumbo twist, and even individuals who did not have 4C hair were still wearing those twists. And then after that, we have the passion twist and the faux locks. And now we have more innovations happening. I saw a hairstylist, an African hairstylist, who made these really nice spirally braids where the braider will braid the entire hair down and then braid on top. It was so beautiful. There's constant innovations within black hair. No one tells the Havana twist hair producers they cannot produce his hair, because individuals that don't have 4C hair can't appropriate the hair. No one is legally able to do that. because that would keep the people with 4C hair from being able to use that as a protective style for their hair. You can't do that. On top of that, if her argument is she wants to be the person that creates this particular artwork, that does not follow industry standard. Even within the black hair care product space, for example, the jumbo twist, you might have Kanekalon that might have a line. You may have a more artisan line that might have a line of that style of hair that you have to purchase online. But not one company. Kanekalon cannot own the jumbo twist. Freetress cannot own these hairstyles. And I would argue that even if She's a Solar Being is trying to patent this, she should not be able to do this. She should not be able to trademark it because it's hair extensions. Anyone can do that. So let me go back to the script because I'm going on. So, my claim is that when we look at history, box braids in the 90s, the kinky twist, the passion twist, the faux lock, whatever, that is not something that only one brand could produce. Several brands were producing it. Now, what they could patent and trademark was the specific way that they created that thing. That's what they could patent or trademark. But the Havana twist itself, they cannot patent or trademark that. The lawsuit is not just against history, it's against logic. I said that. This lawsuit is not logical. Kwiin Ava has publicly stated she has no desire to be in the hair extension space. And even her expression as she was saying that was very demeaning. I personally don't wear hair extensions anymore. It's not for me. But if I had to do some sort of photo shoot, I might put some things in my hair for that. I might not. I don't know. But I'm not against other people using it. But she clearly stated in one of her latest videos she does not even want to do hair extensions. And that she has no problem with hair extensions. So my question is, why are you suing this girl? Given that Solar's artistry and content often involves this market, Kwiin Ava's legal action is just anti-competition. It is completely irrelevant to her own stated business focus. Kwiin Ava's business focus completely contradicts She's a Solar Beings. As we stated on the front end, Kwiin Ava is a stylist, she's a sculptress, she herself has proclaimed she's almost like a model in some of these spaces. She's an influencer. She's a Solar Being, produces hair care products. Not only that, but Kwiin Ava's attempt to monopolize the star puff, in my opinion, this is not legal advice, it is legally futile. She has no right, in my opinion, or ability to gatekeep who wears a star puff. And she has no right to gatekeep whether or not someone creates an extension, a hair extension, that is pre-made in the shape of a hair sculpture. Much like, a lot of these brands that create the Havana twist or the different twists of faux locks are not even black owned. But you have a black owned person who is here and who has created this artwork. And you're telling her, by suing her, that she can't do it. Miss Ava, I want you to listen to me real quick. If she doesn't do it, honey, somebody else will. So you ought to allow her to create this medium. Because another person from a different culture will see what's happening that has deeper pockets than you. And all of y'all will lose out. And I am using my auntie voice because how dare you? How dare you at 23 years old? Disrespectful. Anyway. Other ethnicities can... Yes, they can technically go to a hair store and get some hair care products and put it in their hair. But guess who's still getting bank off of that? The individuals who created that process, that process and that product. In my opinion, Miss Kwiin Ava cannot legally monopolize who purchases black-inspired products or styles. She just can't do that. And lastly, I will say this from an aesthetics point of view. Kwiin Ava and She's a Solar Being are two different individuals from an aesthetics point of view. Kwiin Ava is very Afrocentric. She's very Afro-American-centric. But She's a Solar Being. She has a lot of inspiration from anime and kawaii culture. Even the way that she wears her makeup is very anime and kawaii inspired. So from an aesthetics point of view, these are two different individuals. Kwiin Ava has very literal art. She has created things like recreated her hair as emojis. She's recreated her hair as movie cartoon characters. But She's a Solar Being recreates, for example, she recreates other styles, but on the afro hair format. So you can see here, these are like styles that you would normally see from more looser textured hair or more hair that is more like Asian or Caucasian, and she has translated that to the hair sculpture medium. Very different art forms. These are two different art forms. These are two different lanes, and there should not be any litigation at all whatsoever. So what is my final recommendation? Stop the gatekeeping. An attempt to gatekeep blackness is fundamentally wrong. And in my opinion, as I stated, is not legally sound. Furthermore, instead of confrontation, consider collaboration. As I stated on the front end, I would not have known who Miss Kwiin Ava was if it were not for she's a Solar Being. That's facts. That's facts, and I'm standing on that. And I'm taking my time with this video. That's facts. I would not have known who she was. Let me go back here. I am going to use an example. You can see on your screen, this is Fabio Jackson. This is Fabio Jackson and another Michael Jackson impersonator. They're all over the world, all over the globe, but none as controversial as Mr. Fabio Jackson, who once claimed, maybe he doesn't now, but he once claimed that Michael Jackson is not or was not black. In this screenshot, he is in a dispute with another Michael Jackson impersonator who, by public opinion, this Michael Jackson impersonator is much more talented by their opinion. I'm just giving you the facts of opinions. But not only that, there was a video circulating of Fabio Jackson in New York, I believe, critiquing another Michael Jackson impersonator. And the way that he's looking at this man is as if he believes that he himself is Michael Jackson. I'm going to say this. Baby, you are not blackness. You are not blackness. And we do not deputize you or anyone else to try to gatekeep blackness. And as I stated, you all keep this feud up, somebody with deeper pockets will see this and free all of y'all from this. Don't be a Fabio Jackson. You do not own an entire genre. So in conclusion, it is the ultimate disrespect to our ancestors to place ownership over inherited expression. I cannot change the texture of my hair the way that it grows out of my head. Neither can she's a Solar Being. Neither can you, Miss Ava. How dare you try to monetize off of and to monopolize. I don't care about you monetizing off of it. Go ahead, girl. Get your money. Because hairstylists gotta eat. But how dare you try to monopolize a space that you did not even create at 23 years old, ma'am? The medium itself predates you. I'm taking my time with this video. I don't think I'm going to edit anything out. How dare you? My final recommendation to she's a Solar Being, you cannot trademark a hairstyle. You can trademark the way that it's created, but you cannot trademark a hairstyle. And that's what I'll say to you both. But this public feud over afro puffs, I'm tired of it. I've been black my whole life. I should be able to go to the store and get hair extensions that look like she's a Solar Beings. I should be able to go to my local hairstylist, and if I tell them I want my hair in the shape of a heart, they can do it, and they do it. Well, I should be able to do both of those things. My final conclusion is you all are not even in the same lane. You are in two very different lanes of expression. She's a Solar Being is in the expression of more abstract art, more anime and kawaii inspired aesthetic, and hair extensions. Miss Kwiin Ava, you are in a very different niche. You are educating individuals about black hair and how to take care of black hair. You are a sculptress, you are a stylist, but you cannot, and this is my opinion, it is not legal advice, but you cannot go after another sister for this product. Absolutely not. And that is the thing I will leave this video with. I have not, and maybe she has. In one of her videos, she said something about, I want to protect our expression. But she failed to acknowledge that she's a Solar Being and her associate is a part of that expression. That she is a black woman. And with that, my case.